5. Vayam cha tvam cha ye che me Dulya kalash chara chara Janma mrityo yatha paschat Pranaivam aduna piboho. Vayam chatvam cha me Tulya kalas chara chara Janma mrityo yatha paschat Chalas chara chara Janma mrityo yatha paschat Pranaivam aduna pibo. Tvam cha ye che me Janma mrityo yatha paschat Pranaivam aduna pibo. Vayam chatvam tudike Tulya kalas chara chara Janma mrityo yatha paschat Pranaivam aduna pibo. Vayam chatvam cha jete me Tulya kalas chara chara Janma mrityo yatha paschat Pranaivam aduna pibo. Vayam chatvam cha jete me Tulya kalas chara chara Janma mrityo yatha paschat Pranaivam aduna pibo. Tulya kalas chara chara Janma mrityo yatha paschat Pranaivam aduna pibo. Vayam chatvam me Tulya kalas chara chara Janma mrityo yatha paschat Pranaivam aduna pibo. Vayam. We, the great sages and the ministers and adherents of the king, cha, and, tvam, you, cha, also, ye, who, cha, also, ime, these, tulyakalaha, assembled at the same time, chara acharaha, moving and not moving, janma, birth, mrityo, and death, yata, just as, paschat, after, prak, before, na, not, evam, thus, adhuna, at present, api, although, O king. Translation: O king, both you and us, your advisors, wives, and ministers, as well as everything moving and not moving throughout the entire cosmos at this time, are in a temporary situation. Before our birth, this situation did not exist, and after our death, it will exist no longer. Therefore, our situation is temporary, although it is not false. Purport. The Mayavadi philosophers say, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mitya. Brahman, the living being, is factual, but his present bodily situation is false. According to Vaishnava philosophy, however, the present situation is not false, but temporary. It is like a dream. A dream does not exist before one falls asleep, nor does it continue after one awakens. The period for dreaming exists only between these two, and therefore it is false in the sense that it is impermanent. Similarly, the entire material creation, including our own creation and those of others, is impermanent. We do not lament for the situation in a dream before the dream takes place or after it is over. And so during the dream, or during the dreamlike situation, one should not accept it as factual and lament about it. This is real knowledge. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Chaktaksmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Tadati Svapadantikam Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Good morning. Okay, can everyone hear me? Okay, so today we're not going to have a Bhagavatam class as usual. We're gonna mix things up a little bit. So for today's Bhagavatam class, we're actually going to do a little surprise glorification of Jitendriya. and the person who's going to lead us in this is going to be our very dear Jai Baladev. So I'm going to invite Jai Baladev to come up. He spent a lot of time with Jitendriya Prabhu over the years. So I'm going to request him to come up and give the Bhagavatam class today. So Jai Baladev.
This is weird. One thing. Thank you. I need directors here. Thank you. That'll help me. So one thing Nityananda Prabhu told me before I gave classes that talk very slow, because I know him to talk like speed racer. So if anyone knows me to talk super fast, just raise your hand. So not everyone, because that might make me feel bad. So. Thank you. Everyone could give class today, so everyone directs me, so please. So my question is, how many of you don't go anywhere, Jitendriya? How many of you guys know Jitendriya Prabhu? Stupid question, right? So how many of you know that he's a Prabhupada disciple and he's been in the movement for at least 40 years? So before I continue with my routine, would anybody have any memorable experience of Jitendriya Prabhu to share? You know, just so I can look at my notes. filling a space. So Nityananda Prabhu. Or yeah.
In general, um, I've never seen Jitendra Prabhu laze. Never. I mean, he is definitely physically older than all of us, but never lazy. Never lazy.
Actually, can I cut in real quickly?
Yeah, please do.
Actually,
I'm just prodding you, so go ahead.
we were taking out the garbage maybe a couple weeks ago, and Jitendra had a couple devotees, stand on top of the garbage with boxes to crush the garbage down. That's because the garbage man, once they see the top completely full with garbage, they actually charge you $50 extra if it's not flat. So Jitendra, what he'll do, he'll save us like $50 every week. He'll actually stand on the boxes and crush them down. And so then what he did was, the garbage is pretty high up. So what he did was jumped up and landed on his knees and was completely fine. Usually most, people, over 60, will lose a limb or something. So he's stronger than all of us. That's a fact. So
One thing about him is, we can take out the garbage a couple of times a year, but to do it every day or at least 3 times a week without ever complaining, without asking for help, is just astounding. And no airs about it. Just, I mean, there's so many persons who've come serve Kishore in a very flamboyant way, wonderful things, but Jitendra Prabhu's been here 40 years, doing the same things again and again, and day in and day out, and just he has an eye and penchant for cleanliness. He sees things. He also has penchant for other things, but that's a separate issue. But just everything is clean, and he wants to clean. Will get on his knees and clean again and every day, every day. Thank you.
thank you very much for that. So there was actually a secret. We kept this a secret. Actually, Dayta Prabhu and Nityananda Prabhu did me a favor. They actually told everyone in the ashram that I was giving class. So then when they saw Dayta, on the ashram, they was like, "Why aren't you giving class?" So then I was thinking, they was like, "You're not giving class." So it's excellent that this pastime comes up. But actually, the reason, so in all seriousness, that oh, thank you. Please thank. So the reason I'm asked for this opportunity is because during my initiation day, I kind of felt guilty, actually sincerely. So there was a few people I thanked, Nityananda Prabhu, my brother, and my mother. And when I thanked Nityananda Prabhu, first of all, I meant Nityananda Prabhu and family. Himangi and Prahlad. Where's Prahlad? Oh, there you are. And so it's just like when you think like the Yadu dynasty, you mean the whole family. So when I said, I thank Nityananda Prabhu, I meant the Himangi dynasty. So actually one thing I want to mention about Himangi or just mothers in general, because she kind of reminds me of my mother. So there's one experience. This whole Kartik has been kind of pretty very interesting. So I'd like to tell you one story that happened maybe a few days ago with me and Prahlad. So is Arjun Gopal Prabhu here? I saw him earlier. He was actually involved in it. So basically, when Damodarashikam started, Arjun Gopal Prabhu started to sing. So I was playing Mridanga. And so I thought to myself, I won't sing the Damodarashikam this time. I'll just focus on my intricate Mridanga beats. And so then Arjun Gopal humbled me. He was like, would you play more simple? So then I was thinking, jokingly, I was thinking, how dare you? That was my mind saying. And so then Prahlad didn't know what was going on. He was actually maybe offering his ghee wick lamp. So then he came over later. And then he started playing Mridanga. So then I was thinking, I'm like, Prahlad is playing way more intricate than me. How come you're not saying nothing to him? And he actually saw that I was trying to follow Prahlad, so then I stopped playing, and Prahlad is such a saint. He actually felt bad. He didn't know what was going on. He actually felt bad that I was trying to follow him, but I couldn't. And so he actually was in between stopping and starting. He kept on telling me while Arjun Gopal was playing the mridanga, he was like, why don't you, Yaya, why don't you pick the mridanga up? So I was like, no, Krishna doesn't want me to play this time. And the reason for that is because I remember my brother. One thing I never forget about, he's known to associate with Ayendra Prabhu a lot. Everyone probably knows Ayendra Prabhu a lot. And so the one lesson he took from Ayendra Prabhu is that the one thing that fried Ayendra Prabhu out the most is that people who play mridanga and don't chant Hare Krishna or chant their so then I realized, I was thinking, I was being humble and I was grateful for that experience, but Prahlad had no idea what was going on. So then Himangi, Mataji, and all the other Matajis were behind Prahlad. And so they was wondering, what's going on over there? He kept on started to play mridanga, then put it to the side, played the mridanga, put it to the side. So then Himangi, Mataji, I felt the energy come, I felt the vibration. Then I told Prahlad, you're in trouble. I was like, look behind you. And then she came and gave Prahlad an instruction. She walked over, was like, that was her instruction. Then he understood, I better continue to play the mridanga. And so this brings to mind one, actually, usually it's considered disrespectful to call people out of their name. But, and Jitendra calls me out of my name all the time. And then I realized over the years that he's actually saying out of love. And so do you remember your nickname? I'm sure you know what Jitendra has for you. Can you all tell us what it is? Mother Superior. That's because he knows Mama doesn't play that.
Yeah.
Himanshi.
Mother Superior.
Mother Superior. The reason is everyone knows she doesn't play that. Mama don't play that. That's why, and that's actually a compliment, and that reminds me of my mom growing up. So Prahlad got the dose, and this actually reminds me of a story a few days ago. This Kartik has been pretty amazing. I'm very grateful to have it. That Nityananda Prabhu probably told me actually, and so it's just one of his first experiences with Ramapal Maharaj. So actually, if anyone wants to thank Nityananda Prabhu for his classes, you should thank Himangi, because she actually is the one who brought him to Krishna consciousness. So anytime you say thank you, just turn to Himangi. Don't thank him, thank Himangi Mataji. So this story reminds me that Nityananda Prabhu told me the other day. He said, when I asked him, I'm talking fast. Yeah, I know, clearly. That's because I need some water. I told Himanshu to give me some water. All right, thank you. God, I wish I had some water real quick. Anyway, what was I saying? All right, cool, you're back. So anyways, one of the nice experiences, thank you. Thank you. So I asked Nityananda Prabhu, what was one of your first experiences meeting Ramapal Maharaj? And so one of the experiences of many he told me about involving Himangi Mataji is that when he first saw Nityananda Ramapal Maharaj sitting on the couch, everyone was seated on the ground like you guys are now, and Ramapal was on the couch. And so then he walked over to Ramapal Maharaj and sat right next to him. And so Himangi gave him she gave him a very deep and profound instruction. Then he squeezed down on the floor. And Vaishnavas are very merciful. So Ramapal Maharaj actually said, it's okay, you can sit here. So that's the mercy of the Vaishnavas and the mercy of Himangi. He got both sides of the mercy. Just like Vitrasura in his past life, slow down. No, trust me, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. The glorification is coming for you. This was just so what else did I say? All right. So anyway, so continue with Jitendra. So actually, there was 3 people, like I said before, that I forgot to thank. Um, I thank my mom, my brother, and Nityananda Prabhu, of course. So there was actually no one more happy to see me get initiated actually than my brother, my mother, and Jitendra actually. There was no one sincerely, and I'll tell you why. Is Ratha Prabhu here? No. So Ratha Prabhu, you guys should really talk to him because he's actually been around since Jitendra's time. You know, even though he wasn't living in the temple, he has many stories about Jitendra. You know, everyone knows Jitendra as like, kind of like Himagi. That's why maybe he has that compliment for, he doesn't play that. Everyone, everyone knows you can't mess with him. So I felt very guilty because after my initiation, I was in the hallway and Jitendra came up to me, and the way I could describe it, the only way I could describe his expression was this, like a kid in a candy store. Actually, he had a big smile on his face, and he hugged me. Throughout all my years of knowing Jitendra Prabhu, I've never known him to hug anyone, ever. And this fact is, I had another experience with him several years ago, many years ago. Actually, I put my hand on his shoulder. He said, "Don't touch me." So then I was like, okay, off limit. He said, "Don't touch me." So then I was like, he doesn't mess around. So I felt very grateful for that experience, and I kind of felt guilty, and I sincerely think that Krishna gave me the opportunity to not thank him, you know, at that time because it gives me opportunity to kind of give a purport and elaborate on why I'm grateful. Because I consider everyone here my Shiksha Guru, which means everyone's, my instructing spiritual master. I could derive lessons from everyone. Of course, my brother, my brother, of course, obviously. But I thought about it. I'm like, I learned so many lessons from Jitendra over the years, and I kind of wanted to express that to you all. So, hold on one second. All right. So I guess I could go back to my first experience with Jitendra. I remember my brother brought me to the temple probably for the first time maybe. And so it was a very peaceful atmosphere, but of course everyone's suffering this material. Nobody's free from suffering. That's explained in Bhagavatam and Gita. Dukkha layam shashvatam. Nobody's free from this suffering. It doesn't matter how happy one looks. And before I continue with Jitendra, actually, I have a nice story in this regard regarding Justin, and that's going to be put on the spot. And she's not here right now. Rasika Mandri. Actually, this is very fun. She's listening downstairs.
The kitchen listening.
Hopefully she's not. She might come in here and stop me. So anyways, I was maybe like last week. I was washing the pots, then I took a break, and was lingering around in a prasadam hall. And so I was probably standing by the microwave at the time. And so I hear, someone descend, down to, the dungeon area where there's like barely no light, prasadam hall area. I hear someone saying, "Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna." And it was Rasika Madri, coming. She was saying Hare Krishna to everyone. So I was thinking, I was like, no one's that happy, not even a Krishna consciousness. And not even chanting japa. So then I asked her, I said, why are you so happy? It was like, the only way I could describe it was like Lord Chaitanya freely, distributing love of God. That's the only way I could describe it. And actually, Himanshu is my witness. This is a true story. This is a true story. I'm not exaggerating. So then she walked by me. I was like, "Why are you so happy?" She was like, "I'm not happy. I'm suffering." She was like, "Pray for me." So then, and that's good. That's okay. We're not all, that doesn't mean we're not spiritual. We all go through our difficulty. That's a fact. Every single one of us. So it's all right. And so on the flip side of the coin, I'm glad I had this experience. The same day, maybe, a couple hours later, I was, I talked to Justin, I approached Justin Prabhu. I was like, "What's wrong?" He was like, I'm just feeling a little down. And he was like, how'd you know? I said, it's written all over your face. And so then I told him, I told him this instruction. I'm like, if you want to learn how to hide your suffering, take a Bhakti Sastri course from Rasika Mandri. He was like, really? So back to Jitendriya. So we'll go back to that. So that's the whole principle that we're all suffering. That's okay. So that's why we're all meant to help each other, obviously. So I'll get back to my first experience with Jitendriya. At least one of the first experiences. So my brother brought me to the temple, and it was very peaceful atmosphere. Anyone who comes here, could see that it's like Shanti, very peaceful. Well, when they don't come on Sunday feast, it's very peaceful atmosphere. So I was probably in the lobby, very peaceful atmosphere. And I was like, this is very nice. It's very calming energy. And so then all of a sudden I hear like all this racket noise. I'm like, what's all that racket noise? And then like, boom, Jitendriya comes through the door with like his ladder. Making all this racket. So the only way I could describe this is his expression was, if you don't get out of my way, I'll knock you out. So I was thinking this dude looks mean, and look who's talking. And so then after associating with Jitendriya for some time, because he probably approached me to do some service, then I actually realized that this dude is mean. He used so many curse words I never heard before. And then I realized that I told asked Justin the other day. He was with Justin the other day, and we were fixing some window. Jitendriya asked us to fix some window. And Jitendriya said a curse word. I'm not exactly. How about the spelling? Anyways, so Justin was shocked. He was like, oh, the language. That's what he said. It was actually the other word. He actually gave Justin his first instruction that day. It was actually the synonym for crap, C-R-A-P. He was like, what's the difference? They're 4 letters. We put our mental concoction to it. What makes one more potent than the other or more negative than the other? It's simply our mental concoction. And that's a fact. That's a fact. Yeah, that's what Jitendriya Prabhu said. Of course, he's very merciful to us to not use those words in class because people might commit Vaishnava aparad against him and not be able to see the pure bhakti behind such words. So that's what I told. That's actually what I told, and I'm very sincere. I told Justin that I'm very sincere, and there's scriptural references behind this. In the Gita 4.8, it said, what's that verse? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadusukritam. So in this purport, actually, it's a very important point. In that purport, Prabhupada uses the word, he states that a sadhu, because in that Sanskrit verse, the word sadhunam is used. So he says that even if a sadhu is not very cultured or learned, of course, Jitendriya is very learned, obviously. If you spend many times around him, actually. So, but we can't see past the external, manifestation of his, words. And he's very merciful to us not use such words in class because he knows people wouldn't, get it. Will commit Vaishnava aparad. So, anyways, in this purport, Prabhupada mentions that even if someone isn't very learned or very well cultured, they are still considered to be considered a sadhu. Despite like curse words are uncultured. And we, may criticize, like, when I first heard Jitendriya use curse words, I was like, how dare you? Like, I've never used them before. That's Maya's potency. Like, we never said these things before. And so I was kind of appreciating over the years, I judge. We all judge and stuff. And that's the Vaishnava's mercy. They're always very forgiving. And that's what in the cures I've seen, in Jitendriya, because, of course, I judge too, but I'm doing the same thing too. So that was my first experience with, one of my first and second experiences with Jitendriya. And the first instruction that he actually gave me is actually based in humility, but it's very profound instruction. He actually told me to wash the stairs. That wasn't funny, huh? Is this mic on? He actually told me to watch the stairs. And so I was thinking at the time, like, how dare you? I'm here to serve God. I'm not serving stairs. Anyway, I know he doesn't play that, so I did them anyways, because if you don't do it, you know you're going to get messed up. So me and actually Luke was joking about this for maybe a few weeks ago. So I was joking with him. Basically, he actually mentioned this. All credit to Luke. This is the joke he mentioned. He was like, that was like your entry-level job in devotional service. And so then for a few years, you know, washing the stairs, then I was promoted to pot washing, and I've been there ever since. And so basically what I'm trying to say is the lesson I learned from Jitendra was humility. Humility. So where am I going with this? No, not yet. I only know the first half. Now I'm kind of in like deer in the headlights because I didn't cross anything out. So I'm like, where's what? Use so many cards. Okay. All right, cool. All right, I'm gonna cross all this out. It's not confuse me. That's my atyahara. It's like so many things confuse you over accumulation. So I have another incident of Jitendra. It's very funny. And there's another lesson involved in it. I'm not sure if I should tell you what the lesson is before or after it. I'll tell you what the lesson is after it. I think that'll be the punchline. So. Where's Prabhu? He's not here. It actually involves him. So I call this basically the red car incident. Ratak, Prabhu. How you know this one? Anyway, so basically the scenario is just Ratak Prabhu. He had a car. It was a very nice. I want to call it, yeah, kind of like a convertible car, but it's not like the super expensive ones. And he had it. He wanted to donate it to the temple essentially. But Jitendra, you know, to help him out, you know, he bought it for a good price. You know, bought it for the temple, whatever. And so Jitendra is very merciful. He actually lets people actually use that car. Like, who would let them use like a nice car like that? Because actually we can see that the Christian lunch devotees, they're very merciful by distributing mercy, but the car is banged up all the time. Van is banged up, and Jitendra makes note of that all the time. Look what they're doing. Like, that's all. But that's his mercy. So he's actually instructing us to be more careful. And so anyway, he let one of his friends borrow the car. His friend is approximately his age, and he's actually known Jitendra for maybe since the Evanston temple, since this temple was in Evanston. So he's not initiated, but he's always been coming around. He's been good friend to Jitendra over the years. So Jitendra actually let him borrow the car. And so basically, Jitendra is very merciful. Basically, this guy ruined the car, but it's not offensive. It's not a criticism of him. Basically, this guy got a DUI. He kind of ruined the car a little bit. He left the top open. It's a kind of convertible, and it was raining that day. The car got towed. It was raining. The whole inside of the car got messed up. This guy even offered to pay for the damages. He didn't pay for the damages, and so. I've never seen Jitendra so furious, and we may criticize him. How could he be, so, materialistic? But just a few months ago, my brother actually said, what is most dear to us? Some people said their computer or phone. Jitendra, I've never seen him so furious. He told me the whole experience, and then he said, I'm never talking to that bastard again. And so then, actually, a week later, approximately, I'm exaggerating, actually. It was probably less than a month, though. A week later, I walk in his room, and he's having a friendly conversation with the same guy. I'm like, so after he left, I'm like, I thought you were never talking to him again. He was like, well, you got to give people some slack. That's what he said. So it was unbelievable. So basically, the lesson I learned from him is forgiveness. it's very easy to get so trapped in people insulting us all the time. I mean, somebody ruined his car. So I was very kind of moved by this experience because if anyone um, ruined our car or broke our thing, we'll vow to never talk to them again. We'll hold our word. And actually, I brought this up. Hold on one second. Forgive me. The Vaishnavas are merciful, so please correct me. I think that's the only, close to word that's should be censored. So there's nothing else in the script, I think, involving that. All right. So, anyways, where was I going with this? I lose my train of thought very quickly. So, red car lesson. That was the beginning. I need you guys' help. um, red car. Oh yeah. Okay. So he taught me the lesson on forgiveness. And so I actually brought this experience up to him, maybe a couple weeks ago. And and the worst thing in the worst insult in spiritual life, someone can call you is a hypocrite. And so what is a hypocrite? Can anybody, volunteer to help me out? Exactly. So actually, when I was bringing this experience to Jitendriya one day, it was a glorification. I actually called him a hypocrite. He said he'll never talk to this guy again, and his actions said something otherwise. He's a hypocrite. And it's the lesson I learned from forgiveness. He says one thing, I'm never talking to him again, and he does another. And then I appreciate this point. So next time anyone calls you a hypocrite, you should just say, thank you, I'm trying to be more forgiving. And they're like, huh? What is you talking about? And so that's a lesson I learned from Jitendriya. So we shouldn't take things so serious. And I know living in a ashram among devotees, anyone who lives together, everyone has their problems because we're all entangled by the mind, the false ego, the senses, the modes of material nature, the threefold miseries. So there's gonna be friction all the time. But just let it go. Nothing's that big of a deal that we make it. It's not that serious. And these lessons I learned from Jitendriya over the years, because I see so many people bickering all the time. And then I was like, how does he remain aloof, all the time? Of course, he's in his room, that's how, basically. And that's why I'm in there all the time, so I can remain aloof. Not that I'm aloof spiritually, but that's why I go in his room all the time. And so that's the lesson I learned from him. And so this actually brings to mind the opposite of a hypocrite is one who practices what they preach, right? Absolutely. And so this brings to mind a story that actually a documentary I saw maybe 10 years ago or something. It was this Christian preacher, and he was absolutely right. He was like a kind of hillbilly, preacher. So what he said was, he was like, I practice what I preach, and he was right. And I'll tell you why. Basically, he was a preacher who, in the name of preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, he ran like a kind of prostitute brothel. He would actually have women preach the gospel to and lure them, for sex and preach the gospel to them. And so at the time, I was probably thinking that's fantastic. But then I was thinking, obviously, this was actually a documentary about cheating religions, actually. And so it's obviously a cheating religion. So and so obviously the Bhagvatam, kits out this in the beginning, this type of cheating religion. And so this type of practice which you preach program isn't very glorious. Obviously, it's more glorious to be a hypocrite in forgiveness than be a practice which you preach and something not glorious. And so this brings to mind basically Justin's hiding his head. Okay, it actually involves you now. So we were reading one of Prabhupada's in the Krishna book. We were reading one pastime, Brigu Muni actually pastime. That's the only pastime I really know, actually. Literally, that's the only pastime I know. They was like, what about the gopis? I'm like, what are you talking about? This is the only pastime. It's very dear to my heart for many reasons. Maybe I'll get to that later, but not now. But me and Justin Prabhu was reading it the other day. And so one thing that Prabhupada mentioned in his commentary in the Christian book, Justin said, "Wow, that's a great saying." Prabhupada essentially mentioned that the greatness of a person has to be estimated by their ability to tolerate provoking situations. And so basically, in relation to this practice which you preach, Christian, it's not very, glorious, to practice this type of religion, practice which you preach, because and that's the essence of spiritual life is basically sacrifice. Sacrifice, not very glorious. That okay, yeah, it's easy to practice that. We all want to practice that, but spiritual life means sacrifice. And so this kind of the what I was appreciating about Justin. He actually was glorifying Prabhupada by that one single statement. And God, I need more. And so, where am I at? Yep. Oh, glory to God. You may pray. Huh? Regal money. Yeah, that pastime is so yeah. That's close by. What's close? Oh yeah. So this brings to mind Haridas Thakur, and this next joke is not mine, so I won't take credit for it. It's actually Justin's joke. So usually in comedy circles or anyone writes the scripts, we can see in Kali Yu means you take credit, for everything somebody does, but I can't take credit for this joke. So Prabhupada mentioned that the greatness of a person has to be estimated by their ability to tolerate provoking situations. And obviously Nityananda Prabhu brought up the story of Haridas Thakur, a few weeks ago. And so, the story of Haridas Thakur is basically, what is it, Shan Kazi? He became envious of Haridas Thakur. Ramachandra Khan, he became envious of Thakur. He was very popular due to his austerity and purity and his chanting his rounds. And so he sent Maya Devi in the form of a prostitute to, to seduce him or whatever. And so basically the passing on Haridas Thakur is that he's chanting his rounds, and the prostitute basically says, will you fulfill my desires? And Haridas Thakur says, yes, after I'm done with my rounds. And Justin was like, if that was us, we would be like, what a coincidence. I just finished my last round. What a coincidence. I'm glad you guys laughed because that was his joke, so I can't take credit for that one. What a coincidence. All right. Peer review. Anyway, so this is very, actually brings to mind of Haridas Thakur. He became very popular, obviously, due to his purity and devotion. And that's actually mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, one of the verses I first learned. And the reason I remembered it is because the word Jitendriya is used in it. The verse is a very important verse. I remember bringing it up to Chandramali Maharaj. And he said, yes, I really like that verse. Probably because Jitendriya is mentioned in it. The verse is 5.7. The verse is Yoga Yuto Vishuddhatma Vichidhatma Jitendriya Sarvabhutatma Bhutama Kurvanapi Nalipyate. It says, one who works in devotion and who is a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone and everyone is dear to him. Although always working like Jitendriya, such a person is never entangled in Maya Devi. I edited the verse a little bit, but essentially that's the verse. And actually, over the years, I asked Jitendriya, I was like, there's been so many people who've come and gone in this temple. How have you remained in the temple for over 40 years? So what he told me was, because I'm stupid. That's what he told me, because I'm stupid. And so the lesson I got from that is another lesson in humility. Another lesson in humility. And so actually, there's so many. It's mind-boggling that anyone could stay around because, like I said, we're entangled in the mind, the modes of material nature, etc. And so, for example, one of his first experience in Christian consciousness that he told me about. It's unbelievable how he stayed in here in the temple. He said, one of my first experience, if not first experience, I came to the Hare Krishna temple in Evanston. And our kitchen doesn't have swinging doors. This kitchen had, swinging doors that go in and out. And so he said one of my first experiences that one devotee, he actually it's not funny, but it's funny because how did he stay around? One devotee, he actually punched his wife through the swinging doors. Welcome to the Hare Krishna temple. And he stuck around. No, most people who see that, they'll be like, this religion is not for me. And so, and we shouldn't think that, there hasn't been many allurements in his way throughout the years. He first came when he was in his mid-20s, 25, very young. And so over the years, he explained that he told me, and I'm very grateful. I never asked him. That's why I feel gratitude. I felt like I was one of his true friends, because it's kind of considered rude to ask people personal questions, especially if you don't know too much about them, or if it's not meant to glorify, if it's meant to criticize. So I never asked him anything. Usually I was just always hanging around him. And so he said, one thing he told me was, maybe I did ask him a question. How did you get allured by how did you not get allured by the material energy? Actually, I didn't ask him a question. He actually mentioned one time to me, just different people over the years. He was like, in relation to Haridas Thakur pastime, he said, this one Mataji asked me to get married, or whatever. While he was living, many people, many women proposed to him. And you know what he would say? He was like, "Oh, I'm just not marriage material." That's what he would say. I'm just not marriage material. He was like, "Oh, I'm just not marriage material." Many times, many times. And how has he managed to overcome? Huh? So that was the lesson I learned from him, especially gratitude, humility. That humility always protects us. We may be struggling with our, various misconceptions or being tangled by the mind, senses, but that's gonna eventually be, rectified in the future by Krishna because we're not the controller. Ishwara Panama Krishna. We have no power to control our senses. It's impossible. Therefore, another name of Krishna is what is it? Hrishikesha. What does that mean? The master of the senses, exactly. So then I realized the lesson I learned over Jitendriya over the years is that being grateful and being humble, it's not possible. He stayed out of the entanglement of the material energy. And I was very grateful to hear those experiences from him. Because like I said before, I consider him a Shiksha guru. One of my primary ones because I hang around him all the time. And then, like I said, on my initiation day, I was thinking, what if I learned from Jitendriya? Taking out the garbage, crushing dust. And then Krishna was like, nah, nah, you didn't. You learned way more than that. So, where was I at? Oh yeah, free from proprietorship. I feel like Maya kind of used me to kind of to basically incite, his false ego and his sense of proprietorship. Because sometimes, over the years, he's been very detached over the years. And I was like, how do you remain detached? Just like, for example, we hear in the pastimes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, one of the motivations for Prabhupada, one of the instructions Bhaktisiddhanta actually told Prabhupada was preach books. If possible, preach books, print books all the time, and if necessary, basically, in that sense, build temples. But our primary duty is to print books. And actually, the motivation behind this pastime, this quote by Bhaktisiddhanta, was actually that in the pastimes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, even in Bhaktisiddhanta's time, there were many, profound devotees. But correct me if I'm wrong, they argued over who would get which room. Is that correct? So they argue over who would get which room, and that was the actually primary motivation. And so actually Maya used me to incite, I realized Jitendriya's false ego, but has no false ego at all. So sometimes over the years, there's been many, devotees move in different rooms and stuff, and Jitendriya has all this stuff in like 10 rooms. So obviously he has to give up something. And that's good also too. So we're not criticizing anyone. That's good. But I was trying to incite his false ego, and I realized that I was like, you're a Prabhupada disciple. You've been here for over 40 years. You should have some say of where you stay, and it should be your word. And he said, well, that's it, basically. That's it. I was trying to incite his false ego. He has no false ego. And actually, I wish Acharya Nishta Prabhu was here, actually, at the time. I was sitting at the table one day, and actually Himanshu was my witness. He was there also at the time. Acharya Nishta said something very glorious of Jitendriya. He was like, wow, sometimes when it's late at night, I get to spend some time with Jitendriya. He was telling me, he was like, man, the word he used, he said, it's pure nectar. That's what he said. Nectar. That's what he said. He was like, I know Jayabela Dev, you get to associate with him a lot. And so then when I told Jitendriya this, I was like, Acharya Nishta, said, associating with you is pure nectar. First I told him I didn't get that. I was joking with him, of course. And so what he said was, he said was, why would he want to associate with me? He said, some people like stool and some people like honey. That's what he said. And so this reminds me of, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not very sastrically inclined, obviously. So Lord Chaitanya basically said, as far as humility is concerned, is that we should think of everyone as a Vaishnava but our own self. Is that correct? Bhakti Siddhanta? Okay. And so this is the kind of, and this is what Acharya Nisha said. I told Acharya Nisha Prabhu this. I told Jitendra actually what you said. And Acharya Nisha actually gave me instruction. He was like, generally it's not good to, tell devotees compliments to their face because we have false ego. we become proud. Somebody tell us to his face. And so I told him what Jitendra said, why would he want to associate with him? He was appreciating him again. He was like, see, he has no false ego at all. If that was us, we would be thinking, Krishna's merciful, Krishna's very merciful. I thank you that, my association is nectar. So it's very difficult, when someone gives you a compliment and not to be incited by the false ego. It's impossible, actually. It's impossible, but by Krishna's mercy and one's gratitude, I learned from Jitendra over the years, is that then only the impossible becomes possible. And so another lesson of many lessons. Actually, I have many lessons, but unfortunately, we don't have unlimited time. One lesson I learned from Jitendra is basically the Dati Pratigrinati something. What is that? Basically exchanging gifts of love between devotees. And actually, Jitendra actually exchanged gifts with me. Actually, he's did many times. I would be sleeping in his room and, exhausted from pots or tired or whatever or, the day. And I would be sleeping on the floor. Then he'll actually put his blanket over me. He's done it many times. No, free from proprietorship, not this mine. Aham ameti, I am this body. Everything is mine. Mine. That actually reminds me, my cousin, when I babysitted him growing up, and asked my brother about this. My brother is very comical. This is actually a true story. Our cousin, that's why I got tired of babysitting. I want to, I'm like, thank God this is not my kid, because I would have committed homicide. Basically, he would. He actually drew on me one day. I had a white shirt on. He drew on me. So I was like, under the most material nature, I was like, so one quote that my cousin would say all the time. He was like 5 years old. And I swear to God, ask my brother, this is the truth. He said, everything, if I pick up a cup, he will walk over and say, mine. We'll pick up a tray or a toy or anything. He'll grab it and be like, mine. This is the only word he knew, mine. And then I realized my brother got the realization that we're being trained up by Maya from the beginning of birth. That's what my brother said from the beginning of birth. Aham ameti, I am this body and everything is mine. And so that's why we're very fortunate to get, association of Vaishnavas like Jitendriya to, get free from this sense of proprietorship and entangled in the web of material existence. And so that's my other point that I wanted to mention, the Dati, Prati, whatever. It basically says exchanging gifts of love, but and this is what I kind of felt emotional when I kind of I felt that he kind of considered me a genuine friend, because like the point I mentioned before, usually it's not good to ask personal questions about people. It's kind of considered rude, especially not with the intention of glorifying them. um, and so I never asked Jitendra any question. He's just bring up things from time to time. So just recently, maybe within this last year, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me bringing up this situation. So. But before I explain what that was, I'd like to ask Prahlad a question. Suppose your parents sent you to Gurukul for, let's say, 5 years, and they stayed in Chicago. How would you feel? Exactly, not so good. And that's of course, we'll all feel like that, being separated from our family. It's natural, so we shouldn't consider, I shouldn't be not attached to family, I'm not spiritual. It's okay, we all have to go through our purifications or whatever. But anyways, one thing I kind of felt when Jitendra told me this story, where I kind of felt like he kind of designated me as a true friend, is that, of course, growing up in the 70s, he was born in 1950. He had many brothers and sisters born in 1950. And so, of course, during his 20s, teens and 20s, he grew up, during the Vietnam War, during the, marijuana age, or not marijuana. Say it again. Civil rights movements, and what were the drugs used at the time? Not marijuana, that's today. Huh? Yeah, LSD and, oh, LSD, and I don't know what other drugs are called. And so, alcohol, of course, that's universal. That transcends time. And so, of course, naturally, he became entangled in, mainly just alcohol and, LSD. But he gave up alcohol. Basically, he was like, I love drinking, but basically, I got tired of the hangovers, so he renounced it. I got, in his 20s. He was like, the hangovers are just, it's one experience is he told me, I hope you forgive me. I hope I'm able to explain this. It's not too, it's not an embarrassing experience. It's actually a very touching experience. He told me that, in the course of doing his LSD, before he met devotees, because he met devotees in his mid-20s, he was approximately 21 years old. And so when he had one of his LSD, trips, because as Rata Prabhu, anyone who grew up in that age had LSD trips. We all have our faults naturally. So before I mention this story, one sutra of the Jitendriya mentioned in a Bhagvatam class maybe a week ago, and it's very profound. It's a profound saying. He said, and it's very it connects to this Vitrasura pastime. He basically said, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. How many of you remember that saying? Exactly. Jitendra raised his hand. I remember it. Of course you did. You said it. So it's not like we haven't been entangled in the web of materials. This experience Jitendra told me about, he was like, when he was on one of his LSD trips around his parents at his house when he was, approximately 20, 21. Basically what he said was, he said, I thought my parents were probably like Vitrasura. Imagine Vitrasura, somebody looks like that. So what he said was, he was like, I start choking my dad. I start choking my dad. And so then his dad, obviously, maybe this is his dad's mercy to, actually I kind of consider it his dad's mercy. Actually, every bad experience we have in the scripture that explains is actually the mercy of the Lord. So I consider his dad, in retrospect, now thinking about it, his dad was actually his instructing spiritual master to lead him to devotees. His dad actually kicked him out of the house, naturally. And actually this led him to devotees. This led him to devotees because he was kicked out. He actually traveled around the country, like we're all wandering throughout the universe looking for some type of happiness. And he was wandering actually throughout, the country, and he eventually came back to Chicago, and he stayed in the YMCA, et cetera, so many in other places and stuff. He probably hasn't even told me everything actually. So, but basically, somehow or other, he came in contact with devotees. By I think his first experiences was um, coming in contact with the Bhagavad Gita and one particular devotees. So he actually saw Prabhupada on TV. Prabhupada, who are these, silly Hare Krishnas, was on TV at the time. Very interested in that connection. And he eventually wind up coming to the Association of Devotees in the Evanston Temple, and pretty much he's been here ever since. And I don't want to speak too long, but pretty much that's my whole presentation. I probably have more of this. Like I said, there's unlimited things to say, and I don't want to go too long, but I kind of want to leave it on a kind of good note. And if anyone has anything to say in glorification or what you appreciate about Jitendra, I know it's kind of put on the spot, but I mean, feel free to say something. So, I mean.
Yeah, just in that period of time you're talking about, Jitendra Prabhu told me one time that he was living in his friend's basement and without any food or water, and he was just reading Bhagavad Gita every day for many hours, like during that time that you're talking about where he was not living at home with his parents. I remember one time he told me that when he first came to the temple, they just gave him so many pots to wash, like so many pots to wash.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that story because I always felt like, wow, who would survive that? We wouldn't have survived
Thank you for telling me that. I forgot about that. Actually, just so in the Evanston Temple, and I think I have a lot of pots. You don't know what they dealt with back then. That's because I'm not grateful. Actually, none of us are grateful. We complain all the time in the kitchen. We're like bickering. How come Michael was in here? How come Himanshu was in here or whatever? When one person is not here, we like fight all the time. But we don't know what Jitendra had to deal with, or all the devotees back then had to deal with. So basically, there was unlimited pots, basically unlimited, literally. And Jitendra Prabhu was one of the main pot washers. And so he was like, the devotees will have him washing pots pretty much, 24 hours a day. Of course, we say we should engage in devotion 24 hours, but that was over the board. And so basically what he said was there was a basement area in the old Evanston Temple. Actually, it used to be an old YMCA. And there used to be a basement where no one would go. And the reason no one would go there because it was haunted by ghosts. It was haunted by ghosts. And you know what Jitendra said? He was like, just to escape the pots, I would go in the basement just to escape the pots. He'd rather be with ghosts than those pots. He was like, it's more peaceful here than, washing pots. And who would do that? I'm not lying. It feels like it's exaggeration, but it's no exaggeration whatsoever. And so, thank you for bringing that experience up. You could go ahead again.
One more thing that really I appreciate a lot. Jitendra was telling me one time how he was talking to His Holiness Radhanath Swami, and he was asking Radhanath Maharaj, like, how is so-and-so at New Vrindavan, and how is so-and-so, and how is so-and-so? And then Radhanath Maharaj just looked at him and said, do you know anyone in good standing? And and I really appreciate that story because it showed to me that the ones those people that no one really cares about, Jitendra cares about them,
That brings, thank you. That brings together another experience, unbelievably. Of course, in the course of associating with Jitendra, and I'd like to do a disclaimer that Nityananda Prana doesn't happen anymore, and I'll tell you why. Or it hasn't happened lately, but it doesn't happen. So basically, over the years, especially in the winter, it'd be cold outside, freezing, especially last winter. And Nanda Pran probably knows where I'm going with this. It'd be cold outside, so anyone who's outside, they're gonna die probably. So basically, when it would become late at night, when the devotees are kind of winding down, going to bed, Jitendra will bring, somehow or other his homeless friends and sleep in a room with him. And I'll be with there, chatting with them up. And of course, he was like, of course, we shouldn't this doesn't happen anymore. So this is a disclaimer. That's what I mean. So in case you want to come in Jitendra's room and do pre-chats all the time, it doesn't happen anymore. So it hasn't happened in years, actually, maybe a year or two. Himangi, you could cut me off, so go ahead. No, in a good way. So.
Few appreciation of our Jitendra Prabhu. Excuse me, Mataji.
That's okay, we're all humble. I didn't even see it.
So, something that I really appreciate about Jitendra Prabhu is he's a voracious reader. Like, even though he does so much physical service and he's, active the whole day, but he does read also a lot. Like the latest book, whatever comes, he needs to have it, he needs to read it. So I appreciate that about him. It's not just, generally people have this tendency if they like to do physical seva, work, they generally don't focus so much on hearing and reading and all that. But Jitendra Prabhu is good with that also. The fact that after every Bhagavatam class he has some quote from Prabhupada, that shows how much he is well read and he has heard Prabhupada. So I really appreciate that about Jitendra Prabhu. He kind of he's involved in the class and he gets a nice flavor to the class, by his comments. And it's interesting how I trouble Jitendra Prabhu. My sense of cleanliness is if you don't use anything, you just throw them away. So I think he was happy that Dayta took over as a temple commander. He didn't have to deal with me because we both used to really have a lot of challenges working together, because the moment I start cleaning anything in the temple, Jitendra Prabhu will be waiting near the door to see what I'm throwing, to make sure that nothing is thrown. And I will keep telling.
You throw it in the garbage, she's like.
And that's how I got the name Mother Superior.
And thank you for bringing that up. I'm glad you guys are helping me out, because I actually have this on my one point on my list that I wanted to mention, but it's so long, I'm gonna forget everything. So about. Cleanliness is funny. Of course, it takes one to know one. When I was, hanging out in this room, he would have, dust everywhere. Well, some dust, newspapers, clothes. But that's because he's working all day. He's doing painting. Of course, he's gonna be tired, and it's okay. That's natural. And so, at first I was thinking, God, this guy's in a mode of ignorance. But I was hanging around him, so it takes one to know one. So that's why I was hanging around him all the time. And so this brings to mind of the subject matter of dust, actually. And this is actually a very kind of blockbuster Michael Jordan verse. And the reason I call it a Michael Jordan verse is because there's so many verses in the Bhagavatam, you can't remember where it said what. But over the course of browsing through the Bhagavatam, just flipping, trying to find, some verses to inspire me, I came across a verse. This is a very important verse, and it's easy to remember where it is. It's actually 23:23. Of course, everyone knows Michael Jordan's number is 23, probably. So, probably maybe not the Indians, I'm not sure. Well, maybe not the Prime, probably.
What is it?
Michael Jordan's number? You don't? Oh, he didn't hear.
I'd rather not.
Okay. So actually, the number is his number 23. So actually, the verse is in the second canto, 3rd chapter, verse 23. So that's easy to remember, 23:23. And in this verse, I don't remember what the verse verbatim says. Can anyone read that verse? Because I don't want to butcher it. Yeah, second canto. What did I say? Chapter 3. Yeah. Verse 23. Yeah. So it's easy to remember. Michael Jordan,
I know that
slam
verse.
dunk. The first half of the verse, not the second half.
Do you know the first one?
I'm not verbatim. I kind of just chop it up. So, I mean, somebody can read it for me. Who has the mic?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I thought y'all had I didn't know you was gonna come all the way over here.
Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 23. Translation?
Only the first half of the verse.
The person who has not at any time received the dust of the feet of the Lord's pure devotee, upon his head is certainly a dead body.
Thank you. And so I realized, associating with Jitendra, you'll find a lot of dust. Ventilation dust, basement dust, paint dust, all types of dust. And this actually goes into regards to Himagi's question. Of course, as, second initiate brahmanas, we try to keep everything clean, obviously. So, and one lesson before I explain this is that all the lessons we learn in Krishna consciousness is never throw away prasadam. We all learn that, right? Because it's prasadam, it's the Lord's mercy. It doesn't mean food, it means the Lord's mercy. So every devotee could be prasadam, the dust could be prasadam. And so in the course of cleaning, our room, so I remember this, in the course of cleaning our room, or Jitendra's room, we may criticize, when we see him, oh, he has so much stuff, so much dust. This is a kind of comical point. But anytime we clean a room, we should think we're throwing away prasadam. We're throwing away prasadam. Anytime we're cleaning, and then I realized that's how I've, attained, Jitendra's mercy. Because in regards to this Vitrasura pastime, basically we don't know who anyone was in their previous life. And obviously, so for someone to attain the mercy and association of Prabhupada, had to be a great person. Not only attain the mercy, but stick around in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada said, don't be surprised. Can somebody say it? Can you say it in the mic?
Prabhupada said, do not be surprised by how many come.
Yeah.
You should be surprised by how many stay.
Yeah, absolutely. So is mine, Baba.
Last thing is, I remember it's very easy to please Jitendra Prabhu. You just have to take care of the temple, do something for the deities or for the temple, and he's very pleased. And one of my first experiences way back, remember Kanta Mataji wanted to paint the lobby and the gift store, and Abhimanyu Prabhu was there. You know Abhimanyu, the tall?
Yeah, like sits, like
Yeah.
8 feet tall. He's about 8 feet tall.
8 feet tall.
So I was helping him. He was in charge of the gift store at the time, and he asked me, "Can you help me make it look a little bit more beautiful?" So I said, "Prabhu, we need to paint. It looks so bad. We need to paint." And he said, "Oh, forget it." So I went and asked Jitendra Prabhu, I think we want to paint, I think painting would be, and he was so thrilled about it. And he immediately got me a ladder, he got me the paint, he got me the brushes, and Jitendra Prabhu and myself, we were painting like late into the night. That was my first day in Kishori temple. I stayed back. No, not like I stayed back at the temple. I never stayed at the temple before that. So Jitendra Prabhu and I were like painting the gift store and then the lobby. So it was very nice. So I thought, it's so easy to please him,
Thank you for sharing.
Jeremy's been waiting, sorry.
I'm very grateful, Jai Baladev, that you've given this class. I think this day is long overdue.
Class is glorification.
Exactly. And as you were talking, I tried to jot some things down, but truly it's unlimited, the things he's done for us. He lends me Lila Amrita, one after the other. He always encouraged me. He's a voracious reader himself, but he always encouraged that part of my personality and lends me one volume after the other, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. He worships Tulsi every day with such devotion. Sometimes when I drive up in the mornings, I see him like a block away from the temple, picking up little bits of the garbage, because he wants...
I remember there was a rat in the middle of a dead rat a week. And so I was thinking, maybe I should humble myself and clean it up. So then I was like, nah. I told Jitendra there's a rat in the alley. So I don't know if he cleaned it up or not, but Krishna gave me the opportunity to be humble, and I failed the test. So anyway, but he cleans the alley all the time, It's to be filthy, cleans the alley all the time. So I'm sorry I cut you off.
Oh, that's fine. And he also has attempted to teach me humility. He lent me a dhoti for the first time, and it was such fancy colors. I was thinking he's never going to use this, but I don't want to ask him for it. But when he saw how happy I was, he immediately offered it to me, because he was willing to give it up because he's detached. But also the humility, he showed me how to tie it, And I came back the next day and I was like, did I get it right? Does it look nice? And he said, you're not the center of the show. Because this was the day we were taking Lord Jagannath out to see for Jagannath to spread his mercy, and he wanted to make sure I understood. This was for Jagannath, not for me.
Thank you. So, if I conclude the class with.
I have one more thing to add.
I was talking to Basha Ghosh, and he was saying that ISKCON's becoming a personality cult. That people are. Well, he would call it the flavor of the month or the flavor of the week. This personality, and it just kind of made me think. Like, where's this going? And when somebody's being glorified or something, it's just like, that's not all true. You know what I'm saying? We're not supposed to.
Doubt.
Well, I mean, we it says know thyself. We know thyself. So we know we have a lot of shortcomings. So when people say something, you think, well, is that right? Or but just to encourage other people, we try to set a good example. So, and I remember Malati was here, and she said, POD. She says, I'm not POD. In her experience is Prabhupada on demand. So, like, we're not always, right on time with our examinations of ourselves or examinations of other people. So, it's a little perplexing, But when we're glorifying somebody, it's being directed to you. You kind of, like with Ramapad Swami, every January, we have his Vyasa Puja and stuff, and then that one, it was Bhakti Siddhanta. I don't know when he was being praised. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I don't know. If you ever get a chance to read that, it's really enlightening, on where he's at and how he describes himself, and the whole arrangement where he's being worshipped. So, but a lot of times you say, well, we're not really worthy of that, so it leaves you a little confused. I'm just a little confused because a lot of devotees are, doing a lot of things. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just reading Aesop's fable. A man carries two bags, one in the front and one on the back. The one in the front is the faults of others, and the ones on the back are the faults of himself. Well, he very, very easily sees the faults of others, but he doesn't see the faults that are on his back. So we have to reflect like that, And then about Mother Hamungi was saying about throwing things out. I was just, I found some brass trays in there and brass, and I.
He was like, "How dare you?"
And I was thinking, this is money, but then I think it's, it still has a purpose, And then I remember Nityananda Pran was, one time there was something in the garbage, and it was recyclable aluminum, and there was a lot of it in there, and he got a little upset with me, I think, But I turned it in, and every time I turned this stuff in, there's a lot of money involved, because I remember in the Evanston Temple, they had these doors, and they were all painted with coats of paint, and the devotees just threw the doors out because there was some kind of arrangement going on. So I found out that they were copper underneath. So I took them apart, and I got like about $135, and that was like, because they were huge, heavy doors. And, not everybody sees the value in metals and stuff like that. What does it say? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I guess I'm surrounded by sense objects all the time, so I kind of evaluate them, whereas other people might not find any value in them. And then, Prabhupada says, well, we're always changing things. But then we're a throwaway culture, it's just, so I don't know, I guess I'm a little too much of a hoarder, I guess, but, I try to kind of hide that, but I'm sure there's a few other things I could say, but I'm a little perplexed right now, but.
Not to extend that's long, but if anyone has anything else to say, maybe we could go maybe another 5 minutes max.
I just want to
have one last
add
point, so
two
go
quick
ahead.
things. One, I'll never forget, and I think we should always remember this, just as this humility when you're talking about Rumpad Maharaj's Vyasa Puja, when Rumpad Maharaj asked Chaitanya Prabhu to say something, and Chaitanya Prabhu ended his little offering with the joke. He said, when they see you, they think, how can I be like him? And when they see me, they think, how did they let him into the building?
How can I what?
How did they let him?
Must be in the wrong building. Must be in the wrong building.
Oh, he must be in the wrong building.
Yeah, when they see you, he's talking about Rumpad Maharaj. Like when they see you, they think, how can I be like him? And when they see me, they think I must be in the wrong building.
That's what I actually thought when I saw Jitendra. Actually, no, I'm not lying. I was like, I'm like, who let such a mean dude in the temple? But look, I was like, this dude is mean. How can they let him? So that's what I thought too. So Vaishnava Parad, but they're merciful.
Yeah, I have to be, and the second thing I just want to add real quick was, I think for those who don't have the eyes to appreciate, it's really helpful when others who do that, and so then those who don't have the eyes to appreciate can also see it that way. So I thank you for helping us see a diamond for what it is, because most of us just, like you say, we just go for the externals, but thanks to you, we can appreciate a thing for what it is. So really grateful to you for that.
Oh, Jitendra, I want to stand.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
I was just, when they don't like you, you're a control freak. And when they do like you, they say that's quality control.
Thank you. One last point, and it's 2 seconds. So in conclusion, so this is the last point. So I'm very grateful for given this experience. I feel like traveling throughout, the story of Radhanath Maharaj. The teaching basically says that when you perform a charitable deed, do not sound in secret, will himself reward you openly. And so I felt like, I've been given this, grateful to awarding him the due respect and gratitude he undoubtedly deserves. And Radhanath Maharaj mentioned, I never forgot it. So basically the quote says, preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words. And we can see that there, Srimad Bhagavatam, or glorification of Jitendra Ki Jai.